and welcome to Narayana IAS. My name is Abhijit Srivastava. We are here to discuss daily news analysis. Today is 26 March 2024 and let's have a quick view over the topics that we are going to discuss here. First article is from page number 9, the Hindu International Edition, which talks about understanding what the right to equality promises. This article is discussing about right to equality, which is enshrined in our constitution with a special focus on Article 14 and how recent Citizenship Amendment Act and rules under this act are in antagonism with Article 14. Next article is what is District Election Management Plan. So this District Election Management Plan and its implication or how it is ensuring free and fair election, how it is becoming a tool for good governance. We will be discussing all these things. Next article is EU probe into tech giants for violation of new law may trigger hefty fines. So in this article, we will be discussing how European Union has came up with one beautifully designed law which is ensuring proper competition in the market, but tech giants are not abiding by these laws. They are misusing certain provisions and now European Commission is taking action against them. How India can learn from these incidences, we will be discussing here. Next article is water level less than 25% in many major dams in the southern states. Dams are filled with less than 25% of water of their capacity. How these incidences are affecting our ecology, economy, and politics. Also, we will be learning various places in news under this article. Last article will be on semiconductors, how they are made, used, and who manufactures them. After discussing all these articles, we will be discussing preliminary and mains related questions. So let's start our discussion. Embark on your UPSC journey with Narayana IAS Academy. Our esteemed 5-year and 3-year integrated programs now open for admissions in Hyderabad, Vijayawada, and Nellore. Our courses includes robust R&D backed initiatives such as first, daily news analysis and daily news read, comprehensive review program for a broader understanding of current affairs. Second, NCERT program, a foundational course that covers all NCERT syllabi, crucial for UPSC preparation. Third, mentorship program for personalized guidance and regular test series for systematic learning and assessment. So begin your journey to becoming a leader with Narayana IAS Academy today. So the first article for today's discussion is understanding what the right to equality promises. This right to equality is enshrined in our constitution from Article 14 to Article 18, which is subpart of Part 3 of Indian Constitution, which deals with fundamental rights, right? But this whole article is more concerned towards the interpretation of Article 14 and its relationship with Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. Okay, so what is this Article 14? Which states that state should not or shall not deny any person two things: equality before the law, and second, equal protection of the law within the territory of India, which means that any person, whether it's foreigners or citizens, this also includes any legal person. Legal person means any corporate or any registered societies, right? So any person, whether it's citizen or foreigner, should not be or shall not be denied equality before the law and equal protection of the law, right? What is this equality before the law? This idea of equality before the law was inspired from the British Constitution, right? And which is a part of doctrine of rule of law given by Dicey. He was a political philosopher. This rule of law doctrine includes three basic elements. One is absence of any privilege, right? So we'll see in upcoming slides that how this absence of privilege is enshrined in our constitution, or Article 14 is a part of Article 14, right? Second is equal subjection of all persons, and third is primacy to individual rights. Okay, this equality before the law is a part of doctrine of rule of law. It also includes three basic elements. What are those elements? One is absence of special privileges, through which we are negating or we are prohibiting or preventing in making of any aristocrat class or any privileged class, right? Second is equal subjection of all person to ordinary laws, right? And third is no person is above the law, right? Through which Article 14 is envisaging or trying to make a equitable society, right? The second is equal protection of the law, and which is the central focus of this whole article, right? This equal protection of the law also includes three basic elements. One is equality of treatment in equal circumstances. Second is similar application of the laws to all who are similarly situated. And third is like should be treated alike without any discrimination, right? But consider a situation like within a society, there are multiple people and they have differential aptitude level, differential attitude level, right? And if you have to permit certain people who can practice medical profession, because this medical profession is directly related with the life, it's a matter of life, right? So that is why who should be given right to practice medical profession in such type of question, you have to discriminate people on the basis of their educational qualification and their aptitude level, right? So that you can protect the life of people, you can protect the society, right? Such type of discrimination is based upon IDSD, right? What is IDSD? Intelligible, differential and substantive distinction. You are differentiating, you are discriminating people on the basis of their educational qualification, on the basis of their aptitude, so that you can protect the society, you can protect the human lives, right? In the case of medical profession. So this is based upon IDSD, that is intelligible, differential and substantive distinction. This discrimination or this type of discrimination is not based upon any, or it's not arbitrary, it's not artificial, it's not evasive, right? You are not creating any class, only those class are allowed to practice medical profession, right? You are creating differentiation or you are discriminating people on the basis of their educational qualification, right? Such type of discrimination is allowed under the interpretation of Article 14, right? Okay, why this article or this whole issue is important for us? Because this article is discussing about right to equality and majorly focusing on equal protection of law, right? Which is inspired by USA Constitution. Okay. Second, reasonable classification test. If a government or a state is discriminating people for a particular objective, it's a prerogative of judiciary to test or to assess whether this kind of classification is reasonable or not, right? And third is secularism, because it may be related with the Citizenship Amendment Act, right? In GS paper 2, there's a topic Indian Constitution, features, amendment and significant provisions, which is directly related with this article. Let's understand the importance of this whole issue with the help of previous year question. 2017 prelims exam, UPSC asked about implication of equality in the society. In mains exam 2021, UPSC asked, analyze the distinguishing features of notion of right to equality in Constitution of USA and India, right? What is the context? Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, which amended Citizenship Act of 1955, right? And which enabled 6 persecuted minorities. Who are those persecuted minorities? Hindu, Buddhist, Jainist, Christian, Sikh and Parsis. So it enabled these 6 persecuted minorities from 3 neighboring countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh, to acquire Indian citizenship under the provision of naturalization, right? This Amendment Act, this Citizenship Amendment Act transformed this persecuted minorities from illegal migration to legal migration, and then it gives certain waive off or certain relaxation in the provision to acquire Indian citizenship under the naturalization process, right? This rule of Citizenship Amendment Act were recently notified. This was the Amendment Act in 2019, but the rules were framed recently and were notified recently, right? This law has been challenged before Supreme Court of India on the grounds that it violates Article 14 of the Constitution. How? The opposition is arguing that this Article 14 gives right to equality to even foreigners, right? And if all foreigners, whether it's illegal or legal, you can classify them, and within this illegal foreigners, the laws should be made which treat all illegal migrants or all illegal foreigners equally. But Citizenship Amendment Act is giving relaxation to only certain class of people, not to every illegal foreigners, right? And this is the major contention which was objected by the opposition parties. Both opposition to it and support for it have drawn a key aspect of this case, and this gives an opportunity to the court to fundamentally reshape not just the citizenship law but also the way in which judges alleged violations of the constitutional guarantee of equality, right? So this is the context. What is a reasonable test? Reasonable classification test we have already seen in case of medical profession, right? Who can practice medical profession, in which we have to classify people who can practice medical profession, who cannot practice medical profession, and this classification should be reasonable. Who will test this reasonability? It's the prerogative of judiciary. Okay, the Supreme Court or the higher court uses this test to determine if there is a legitimate distinction between different groups and if this distinction serves a government objective or not, right? In our case of medical profession, it served the objective of the society, right? The CAA or the Citizenship Amendment Act is argued to pass this test by the government or the propounders, and as it aims to provide citizenship to persecuted minorities from neighboring countries, not all the neighboring countries, but only 3 specific neighboring countries, and not all the persecuted minorities, but certain persecuted minorities, namely 6 persecuted minorities, including Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Christian, Sikh, and Parsis, right? Okay, before going into detail, let's understand certain historical background of Article 14 and its reasonable classification or doctrine of reasonable classification. This Article 14, it permits reasonable classification that we saw on the basis of education and aptitude. If you are discriminating people who can practice medical profession or not, and not the class legislation. For example, in that particular case, if you are allowing a certain segment of the society to practice medical profession on the basis of their caste or class, this is called class legislation, right? You are not using intelligible, differential, and substantive distinction, right? This class legislation is something which is arbitrary. This class legislation is something which is evasive and artificial, right? This reasonable classification test evolved in the or originated in the USA, the reasonable classification test, and it has been a core part of Indian equality jurisprudence as well, right? This doctrine of reasonable classification has originated from Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. There are 2 features that we have already discussed: equality before the law and equal protection of the law, right? Earlier, this reasonable classification test was conducted, which tested whether there is a reasonable classification in the legislation or not. That is, the test was held to check the constitutionality of a law or the legislation. The rule of law cannot prevent a certain class of persons from being subject to special laws. That we have seen the 3 basic elements of rule of law, right? Hence, the state has the power to make laws operating differently on different classes of people in a way that principle of equality of civil rights and equal protection of law is followed. This is being known as doctrine of reasonable classification. This definition you have to mug up for your mains exam. In Indian jurisprudence, how it evolved? In Ramakrishna Dalmia versus Justice S.R. Tendulkar case, Supreme Court held that Article 14 forbids the class legislation, which is arbitrary or artificial or evasive, but these classification must not be arbitrary, artificial, or evasive, but it does not forbid reasonable classification, which is based on IDSD, that is intelligible, differential, and substantive distinction. Okay, so in support of CAA, our Home Minister argues that, and he asserted that CAA is aligned with the reasonable classification test, which is focusing on persecuted minorities from geographically connected nations. But here people are arguing or opposing that what about Myanmar? What about Sri Lanka? The persecuted minorities from Myanmar and Sri Lanka are not giving equal importance, or they are not being treated equally at par with these three countries or the persecuted minorities from these three: Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh, right? Also, the persecuted minority, one specific class of persecuted minority, that is Ahmadiyya Muslims, are also not equally treated at par with these six persecuted minorities, which is in the CAA provision, right? Home Minister is also arguing that in Charanjit Lal Chaudhary versus Union of India 1950, the court declared that the legislature is free to recognize degrees of harm, and it may confine its restriction to those cases where harm is deemed to be the clearest. So this case is in support of Home Minister's argument, right? What opposition is arguing? They are arguing, or critics are arguing, the exclusion of certain groups like Ahmadiyya Muslims in Pakistan and several other persecuted minorities which are also foreigners. And this Article 14 is applicable on foreigners as well, right? Could challenge the validity of CAA under the reasonable classification test. There's also secularism concern. This is the first time in which India is making a law which is discriminating on the basis of religion, and therefore it creates a secularism concern. The exclusion based on religion in the CAA raises question about India's secular fabric, which is potentially conflicting with the constitutional guarantee of equality. It also manifests arbitrariness test. How? It introduced as a broader criterion. This test aims to identify law that lack a clear purpose or policy. According to critics, this not show or reflect its clear purpose or policy. If you are concerned with persecuted minority, you will be concerned towards persecuted minorities from other countries as well. In this case, you are not concerned, though it lacks the specificity of the reasonable classification test, right? So how Supreme Court or higher court can use this opportunity to redefine the equality? While reading down section 377, this was earlier case of the IPC, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud said or stated that Article 14 contains a powerful statement of values, and that to reduce to a formal exercise of classification may miss the true value of equality. We have to move towards substantive equality from the procedural or formal equality. There's a call for deeper examination of what equality entails beyond the conventional treating equally and unequals equally approach, right? Probing state justification, the Supreme Court may need to question the state's rationale more critically. This was the argument put up by the article, such as why certain groups are excluded and the data on immigrants benefiting from the CAA. There is also constitutional challenge, and it is also an opportunity for the courts. The challenges against the CAA offer a chance for the Supreme Court to refine its approach to equality, which is distinguishing between the right and the test used to determine its breach. Next article is, what is the District Election Management Plan, DEMP? This article is very small topic but very important for prelims as well as mains. Why? Because this DEMP is imperative to ensure free and fair election. Why this is important? Because it works as a governance tool, and under GS paper 2 there's a topic, important aspect of governance, transparency and accountability. Also there's a topic, salient features of Representation of People's Act. So it can be helpful in your prelims as well as mains exam. Previously, UPSC have asked about model code of conduct. So you can expect a question from DEMP as well. What is the context? Day by day, our election process is becoming more complex because of various challenges and various socio-economic changes and political changes which we are witnessing right now. So the conduct of election has become increasingly complex and multifaceted. This requires planning and execution, and this DEMP is supposed to be a very important tool to ensure free and fair election and inclusive electoral process. A cornerstone of this planning process is the District Election Management Plan. What is DEMP? DEMP is a comprehensive document that uses statistics and analysis to ensure smooth conduct of election. So this DEMP exercise or the plan is made 6 months before the tentative election date, through which there are multiple plans, within which there are multiple plans. That is, for example, administrative plan, how we conduct the election, how we manage the forces, how we manage the bureaucracy, how we conduct the electoral roll process. So multiple parts are there, right? How we prepare this DEMP is to be prepared at least 6 months before the tentative poll day. The revision or update of the plan is done once election is notified. So 6 months before, we prepare the plan, and in between this, we announce, or the Election Commission of India announce the poll date, right? Even after that, we can change the DEMP. Election officials, administrative authorities, law enforcement agencies, etc., they collaboratively execute the DEMP. So they make the DEMP collaboratively and they execute as well, right? Regular interactions with political parties and media to brief them on electoral rules is also a part of DEMP. So this DEMP has multiple role and multiple elements, right? What are the elements of DEMP? Firstly, the administrative plan. You need not to go deeper into this, but just a superficial view is sufficient. For example, accessibility, how we make our polling stations accessible, available to the people, how we maintain or how we will ensure sufficient lighting, electricity, drinking water, toilet. So all the administrative things will be covered under this administrative plan. Sweep plan will be helpful in educating the voters. Personal plan will be helpful in managing the bureaucracy. Then force deployment plan, how we deploy the force, how we utilize effectively and optimally the forces to ensure free and fair election. The material management plan, the EVM plan, and these plans are testimony of the importance of advanced planning, data-driven decisions, and stakeholders' collaboration to tackle the challenges effectively and broaden the system of governance in general. Next article is EU probe into tech giants for violation of new law may trigger hefty fines. Consider a situation in which there is a market like India or European Union. There are multiple crores of consumers, right? And let's suppose there are only 1, 2, or 3 limited producers for a particular product. Product can be a good or a service, right? In such situation, these producers will show certain monopolistic closure or oligopolistic closure or tendencies, right? What type of tendencies? They will have complete control over the product, its life cycle, and its distribution, right? So what to produce, how to produce, and how to distribute, all these things will be determined by these producers. They will control over the prices, and also they will prevent any other entrepreneur to enter into this market as far as this product is concerned, right? In such situation, it will hamper not only the innovation, but also it will hamper the rights of the consumer, right? Okay, to prevent such type of situation, we need two basic things. One is strong and robust legislation, and second, strong and robust regulatory body to protect the fundamental rights or the rights of consumer, and to prevent these producers to create any kind of monopolistic closure, right? Okay, this article is also mentioning such type of legislation and such type of body, right, and which are charging fines on the violation of such type of legislation by these many tech giants, large companies, these producers of certain services, right? Why this article is important for us, UPSC? This article is discussing about US 1 EU law, which can be asked in your prelims examination. This is discussing about specifically Digital Markets Act. This article is discussing many keywords which will be helpful in your prelims examination. One out of those important keywords is gatekeepers. What is gatekeeper? We'll be looking, right? Let's understand the importance through previous year question. 2017 UPSC asked this about digital single market strategy deployed by European Union, right? So this can be further asked in your UPSC prelims exam. What is the context? European Commission, that is strong body, regulatory body. It launches investigation into those producers, Apple, Alphabet, Meta, etc., for potential violation of that strong legislation, that is new Digital Markets Act. European Union made this act and they launched first investigation against these tech giants. Okay, some more keywords which can be important for our prelims examination, and these are the strategies applied by these technical giants to violate the provisions of Digital Marketing Act, right? First is anti-steering. What is anti-steering? Apple might restrict developers from mentioning alternative app stores, like promoting an Android version within their iOS apps, right? So there are iOS apps, they are prohibiting or they are preventing, they are not mentioning the alternatives of these apps, through which they are restricting the entrance of new entrepreneurs. They are restricting level playing field. For example, another example is search neutrality. This is also a keyword which can be helpful in mains as well as prelims. Google search results might prioritize Google's own services. They are prioritizing their own services. They are not giving due importance to other companies, other services. Another example is forced consent by Meta. Meta is asking for consent. Either you give the consent or you pay for it, right? And this is called forced content. Meta's pay or consent model might not offer a genuine way to opt out of data collection, right? And with the help of these data collection, because data is the new oil, and with the help of these large data that is being collected by Meta, they are earning a lot of money at the expense of right to privacy of common consumer, right? So it can have potential fines and consequences. These fines and consequences, this timeline is not important for us, but these keywords are important: anti-steering, search neutrality, and forced consent, right? Let's look into some features of Digital Markets Act and which can be helpful for our local or domestic markets as well. What is the objective of DMA? Groundbreaking European law aiming to prevent abuse of market power by large online platforms connecting consumers with content, goods, and services. What are gatekeepers? Gatekeepers are large tech giants. With implementation, 6 tech giants designated as gatekeepers: Amazon, Apple, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and TikTok owner ByteDance. So these 6 companies are called as gatekeepers, are required to adhere to new regulations. European Commissions believe keeping big internet companies in check can lead to more competition and choice, greater innovation, better quality, and lower prices. What are the measures that they have taken? Tighter restrictions on how digital gatekeepers use people's data, requiring explicit consent for tracking activities for advertising purposes. Messaging services and social media platforms allowed users to team up and share users, enabling cross-platform communication. Further, options for users to uninstall preloaded applications on devices, ban on gatekeepers ranking their products and services higher than other inline searches. These are the measures that India also can apply to ensure proper demand and supply functioning in the Indian market, right? What is the criteria for gatekeeper designation? This is not important for our prelims exam or mains exam, but for a sake of clarity, their market value should be get at least 75 EUR, and the users, as far as users are concerned, they should have at least 10,000 active business users. Next article is water levels less than 25% in many major dams in the south. South means southern states. This article is mentioning a report published by CWC, that is Central Water Commission. It's a premier technical organization under which is functioning under the Ministry of Jal Shakti. But before going into detail, why this water is important for us, there is a Sanskrit sloka which can be helpful in your essay paper as well. Prithivyam Trini Ratnani, Jalam Annam Subhashitam, Mudhai Pashad Khandeshu, Ratna Sangya Vidhiyate. Which means that there are only 3 jewels on this earth. One is Jalam, that is water, Annam, that is food, and Subhashitam, that is good speech. The foolish people, the childish people, the people who are not aware of the reality, they believe that the parts of stones are more precious than these 3 things, right? If we compare northern states with the southern states, we see that there are perennial rivers in the northern states, but there are seasonal rivers in the southern states. And that is why people feel scarcity when we talk about water availability in the southern states. And that is why dams becomes very important, because when we store the water, we can use this stored water in multiple purposes. But this CWC report shows that whatever the capacity of these dams are, the major dams are filled with less than 25% of the water, and which is creating multiple issues. Why this article is important? Firstly, because of various dams which is mentioned in this article, and the places in news can be asked in UPSC prelims exam. Also, this article is discussing about water scarcity and water levels in dams, and in GS paper 1 there's a topic, changes in critical geographical features including water bodies. Let's understand the importance of this whole issue with the help of previous year question. UPSC asked in its prelims examination 2021, and they were asking about the they were actually concerned about the comparison between various water bodies and the water availability in these water bodies, right? The amount of water in the polar ice caps and the glacier is more than the amount of groundwater water. So such type of comparison you can expect in future as well. So you can expect the comparison between northern states dams and the southern states dams as well, right? What is the context? The water storage situation in the major reservoirs of the southern states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana is concerning, especially with the peak summer approaching, right? What is the current level in the major reservoirs? So most of the major reservoirs in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu or the southern states, they are filled with only 25% of their capacity or lesser than this 25%. This article is also giving some examples like Tungabhadra Dam in Karnataka and the Nagarjuna Sagar Dam on the Andhra Pradesh-Telangana border, which are filled to less than 5% of their full capacity, and which shows a very dismal picture of these dams or functioning of these dams, right? Okay, let's compare with the previous years. The current water level across 150 primary reservoirs in India is at 38% of their total capacity. These data are not important, but the trends are important. In the southern region, reservoirs are filled to only 23% of their capacity, which is lesser than the national average, which is 17 percentage point lower than the last year and 9 percentage point lower than the 10 years average. So we are witnessing a decreasing trend in the water filled in the southern states dams. Let's compare regionally. Other regions in India do not exhibit as significant a difference in water levels as southern regions when compared to last year and 10-year average. So northern states are better performing than southern states. For example, reservoirs in the northern and the central regions are filled to 33% and 46% of their capacity respectively, aligning with the 10-year average level. So this 10-year or previous year comparison, the northern states are performing better than the southern states. They are not in a decreasing trend, but in the southern state, they are in decreasing trends. Kerala is an exception among the southern states, with most of its major dams are filled to at least 50% of their capacities. So these are the graphical representation of these comparison. Western states are performing better if we compare with the 10 years average and the current level average, right? Eastern states are doing comparatively better. Central states are also better in terms of previous year comparison and 10-year comparison. But when it comes to southern state this year, they are not performing better or good, right? Okay, so let's move to this data, which is very important for our prelims examination. What are the names of dams which are situated in a particular states? So Sri Sailam Dam is in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana region, which is on the Krishna river. So this river, name of river is also important, name of dam is also important, and in which states they are situated, this is also important. Nagarjuna Sagar is also on the Krishna river. Sri Ram Sagar is on the Godavari river. Somasila is on Penna river, and Kandaleru Dam is on Kandaleru river. As far as Karnataka is concerned, Linganamaki Dam is on Sharavati river. Supa is on Kali river. This Kali river is different from the northern Kali river, and which is independent river. Tungabhadra Dam is on Tungabhadra river. Almaty is on Krishna river, and Bhadra is on Bhadra river, which is a tributary of Tungabhadra river, right? As far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, Mattur, or also known as Stanley Dam, which is on Kaveri river. Lower Bhavani is on Bhavani river, which is a tributary of Kaveri river itself. Parambikulam is on Parambikulam river. Satanur is on Pennayar River, which is also known as Thennapannayar River, and Vegai Dam is on Vegai River, right? Kerala, Idukki is on Periyar River. Idamalayar is on Idamalayar River, which is a tributary of Periyar River. Kallada or Parappara Dam is on Kallada River itself, which is a independent river. Kakki is on Pampa River, and Mallamapuda is on Bharatpura River, right? So these data are important for our prelims exam. So these are the data which are important for our prelims examination. Let's understand the implications as well. There are multiple implications, including it is creating water scarcity in the region. It has economic consequences or implications as well, because it is creating downturn trend. It is causing downturn trend in the agriculture sector. It is creating strain on related industries. It is also affecting energy production. There is also environmental stress, as well as it is also impacting on wildlife. It can also culminate into water conflict in the southern states. It is also raising concern over public health, and also there is a long-term sustainability issues. It could lead to groundwater overexploitation, and it poses challenges for water management in the southern states. So the last article for today's discussion is on semiconductors, how they are made, used, and who manufactures them. Why this article is important? Because firstly, this article is focusing on semiconductor industry, and this semiconductor industry is further helpful in understanding science and technology and its relationship with computer and IT sector technology, defense technology. Also, in mains paper, there's a topic in under GS paper 3 technology, through which we can relate this topic. Okay. Previously, UPSC has asked such type of question, like they have asked about CFL and LED lamp and technology. So you can expect such type of question in upcoming future as well. What is the context? It's the first time that India is establishing its domestic fab industry, right? Tata Group's semiconductor fabrication unit. This fabrication unit, you can also call it as fab unit, in Assam, will be the first of few approved foundries to begin commercial operations, ending a decade-long wait for India to develop its own fab industry. Previously, India was dependent on foreign countries and foreign companies, right? What are semiconductors? Semiconductors are nothing but element or material which is in between conductor and insulator as far as electrical conductivity is concerned. And you have to be very cautious while reading the definition of such type of keywords, especially in the general science, because UPSC can ask such type of intricacies. How? The semiconductors are class of crystalline solids. They are not amorphous solid, rather they are crystalline solids, intermediate in electrical conductivity between a conductor and insulator. How we can use this semiconductors in making diode, transistor, and integrated circuits, etc., which will be further utilized in developing computers, supercomputer, drones, robots, IoT products, etc., right? Silicon is the best known of this, forming the basis of most integrated circuits, right? Semiconductors are of two types. One is intrinsic semiconductors, another is extrinsic semiconductors. Intrinsic semiconductors are those semiconductors which are pure, and you are not including, not mixing any impurity to this, right? Extrinsic semiconductors, however, are those semiconductors to which you apply or you dope certain impurity. This process is known as doping, when you are adding certain impurity to alter the conductivity of supercomputer. Either you can increase the conductivity of that semiconductor, or you can decrease the conductivity of that particular semiconductor with the help of this process that is known as doping. That means you are adding certain impurity. So how we can make this semiconductor usable for our industry? Firstly, you have to select the material. For example, in previous case, you selected the silicon. Then you have to purify it, because after mining, after extracting from the nature, you have to purify that particular element or material. I'm saying whether it can be material or it can be element as well. Then the next process is photolithography. This photolithography, doping and deposition, these are three basic steps. These are the processes which can occur parallelly or sequentially, right? What is photolithography? So there are wafers, right? And within which, on which you are creating certain circuit patterns, or you are carving certain circuit patterns with the help of light sensitive materials. This photolithography is made up of two different words. When you see the etymology, it is made up of photo plus litho, then graphy, right? Photo means using photon or using light. With the help of light sensitive materials and mask, you are writing or carving, that is graphy, circuits on the litho, that is wafers, right? What is doping? We have seen you are adding certain impurity to alter the conductivity of the semiconductor. What is deposition? You are adding layers of metals or insulators to alter the conductivity of particular semiconductor, right? And then packaging and then testing. So these are the processes through which you are making semiconductor usable for the industry, further industries, right? What is the importance of semiconductor for India? Firstly, it will reduce the dependency of India on foreign countries as well as foreign companies. Best example is China. China is making semiconductors and they are altering the functioning of those semiconductors for their own benefit, through which they are extracting private information. And it will be having a strategic significance if we build our domestic industry for semiconductor, right? These semiconductors are useful, crucial for defense, automotive and other critical sectors, right? It will also improve the technology in India. It will further improve artificial intelligence industry, IoT industry, defense industry, etc. It will increase the economy. It will be helpful in economic growth. How? It has forward and backward linkages. Secondly, if we domestically develop semiconductor, it will reduce the prices, international price of our products, and it will make our products competitive for international market, which will increase the export and which has multifarious impact on our economy, specifically on the employment generation, right? It will increase high paying jobs, it will improve innovation, it will support innovation and deep tech startups development, fostering economic growth and technological self-reliance, right? But there are multiple challenges. First challenge is human development level and the educational quality of India. The employability of Indian labor is very less. Secondly, there are technical challenges. This sector requires ultra high precision and advanced technology, but India lacks in terms of these things. We are lacking in terms of skill because of poor educational quality. Also, this sector also requires a robust intellectual property rights, without which you cannot incentivize the animal spirit of entrepreneurs, right? There's also geopolitical dynamics which is concerning this sector in India, because India is lacking in terms of critical metals and elements. We have to be dependent on other countries for raw material or supply of raw materials. So it is also posing geopolitical dynamics. What are the strategies that we have applied so far? We have focused on investment in R&D. We are promoting skill development and education, especially in higher education. We are also focusing on policy support and collaboration. One best example can be India Semiconductor Mission 2021 under the leadership of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. We are also focusing on DLI scheme, that is Design Linked Incentive Scheme, and PLI, that is Production Linked Incentive Scheme. So far we have discussed all the important articles. Let's do some practice questions. First question is, consider the following pairs: Nagarjun Sagar, Karnataka, no. Nagarjun Sagar is in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana region. Supa, Tamil Nadu, no. Supa is in Karnataka. Idukki is in Kerala. How many pairs given above are correct? None. D part will be correct answer. Which of the following options is correct about intrinsic semiconductor, that is pure semiconductor? N-type semiconductor, no, because in N-type semiconductor, we increase the availability of electron. P-type semiconductor, we decrease the element of, or we decrease the electron, right? Pure elemental semiconductor, this is correct. Sandwich semiconductor, no. So C part will be the correct answer. Which of the following processes are involved in semiconductor fabrication? Purification, yes. Photolithography, yes. Doping, yes. Deposition, yes. So all of the above will be correct answer. Consider the following statements about gatekeeper designation. A company must have market value of at least EUR 75 billion to be designated. This factual information is not important for a prelims exam, but this gatekeeper is important. This statement is correct. A company must own a social platform or app used by at least 45 million people monthly or have at least 10,000 active business users. This is also correct. So C part will be the correct answer. Which of the following are regarded as the main features of rule of law? Limitation of power, yes, because we are giving primacy to individual rights vis-a-vis powers to the state. Second, equality before law, yes, this is also an element. People's responsibility to the government, no. Government's responsibility to the people, so this is incorrect. Liberty and civil rights, this is correct. So 1, 2 and 4, C part will be the correct answer. Let's do mains practice question. Examine the role of district election management plan in the light of elections in India. So we have to define district election management plan in introduction part. In main body part, we have to explain the different elements and its implication on elections in India, because we have to examine this thing. We have to show how collaboration will ensure the free and fair election and optimum utilization of our resources, right? And then in conclusion, we can either give certain suggestion that can improve the process of DEMP, or with a positive note, we can show that DEMP is necessary element in ensuring free and fair election in India. So in introduction, in the realm of electoral processes, ensuring fairness, inclusivity and efficiency is paramount, and DEMP stands as a crucial instrument in achieving these objectives. In body part, we have to explain the purpose, preparation and different elements of DEMP, including administrative plan, sweep plan, how we are educating the voters, how we are utilizing the resources, including bureaucracy and force deployment. Then we have to show or mention the material management plan and EVM plan. And in conclusion, DEMP demonstrate the importance of advanced planning, data-driven decision-making, stakeholder collaboration. It is essential for ensuring transparency, accountability, and efficiency in the electoral processes, and serves as a governance tool to tackle challenges effectively and broaden the democratic system. So now we are concluding our discussion. If you like our initiative, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.